here to help you with breeze, planting seeds and teaching skills. Teachers turn schoolyards to dreams. Who hates school gardens with ease?
Hello and welcome to School Gardens with Ease podcast. I'm your host, Leila Mireskandari, and this is episode number 12 and part 2 of the topic of creating a proposal or presentation for your annual vegetable school garden project. This is to present to whoever you need to help you with funding or support of any kind. It could be your principal, your school directors, school board committees, your parents' council, etc. In the last episode, I said the proposal should have these components. Number one, the why, all of the benefits of a school garden. Number two, the type, which is an annual vegetable garden, and the reason why you're choosing this type of garden. Number three, the detailed plan, which should include the who, the what, the when, and the where, and also if it is going to be an outdoor garden, because it doesn't have to be, the overall design of that garden. And number four, the cost, because most likely you are presenting this proposal not just to get permissions and approvals and support, but also to raise funds, to ask for funds, or to ask people to help you raise funds. So you'll have to have some kind of a decent idea of how much it's going to cost. In the last episode, we also covered the details of the first two components, the type of garden and the benefits of a school garden. Here, I want to continue the topic with the detailed plan. This is so important because not only gives people an idea about what's going to happen, it also puts their minds at ease about many of their concerns and answers many of their questions. Also, it builds their confidence in your ability to run this project successfully as they will see that you have thought of everything. And it's also crucial because without it, you won't be able to estimate the cost. So listen carefully. Your plan has to cover 5 items. Who does what will they do, when will they do it, where will it happen, and if you are planning to have an outdoor garden, because you don't have to, what's the overall design and location of that garden? As I have mentioned countless times before on this podcast and anywhere else that you might have been following me, and will keep saying it till my last breath and to the end of times. A school garden is a hands-on experiential educational tool. Your students learn with this tool only if they get their hands dirty and do the work. Since that's the main point of a school garden, it makes absolutely no sense for the adults to grow it. So, the answer to who should be growing the garden is 100% the students 100% of the time. This is a huge mistake almost everyone does. Something I will never ever back out of. It's a cornerstone to your success. Without it, your school garden is not even a school garden. Your students of grade 3 and up are more than capable of even building the garden. Kindergarteners and grades 1 and 2 definitely can participate in the garden building activity, if not fully able to completely do the task by themselves, but everything else they can do. Well, obviously under your teaching, guidance, and supervision, because they're learning. So, unless you are a kindergarten or grade 1 and 2 teacher, or you have a small special needs class, like 5 students, for example, your class of around, let's say, 20 students is more than enough to build the garden. If your students are special needs or very little, I would suggest creating a buddy program or some other sort of collaboration with a grade 3 and up teacher for building the garden. That's only if you want to grow an outdoor garden, because you don't have to, and if you don't have one built already. And if that was not at all possible, then maybe get help from adult volunteers only for building the garden. Otherwise, for growing and maintaining the garden, your class can do it. And don't you underestimate the collective power of your students. If you lead them well and know what you're doing, the amount of work they can get done in just 1 hour of instructional time with you will amaze you. If there are people sitting in your presentation who have gardening experience, they might think about the amount of work and time that it takes them to maintain their own garden themselves by themselves, and they might think that it's impossible for third graders. Remind them that it's not going to be one third grader, it will be a whole class of them, and there is real strength in numbers. One of the reasons people think adults should do work in the school garden is because they think kids can't do it, or that it's child labor or some other silly idea like that. Not only they can do it, but also it's part of their education. And most important of all, they will love, love, love the activities and have tons of fun every time. Unless adults put the idea of a child labor in their mind, none of them thinks of it that way, because they will be learning and having fun and lots of it too. There's always one or two who won't enjoy gardening, but you have those in your math class and your music class. Not every child is supposed to like every activity same as the others. The same is true for gardening, but collectively they love gardening activities, especially those that pertain to building regenerative gardens. I will talk about design and regenerative school gardens in future episodes. What does this mean for you as a teacher? It means that you won't do any work either. Unlike most school gardens, where a lot of time, energy, and effort is required and expected of the lead teacher or the lead teachers, the school garden you are building not only needs no volunteering to be done by parents, it will need no sacrificing of your personal time or any other teacher either. Speaking of teachers, your role in this garden project will be teaching. In the next episode, I will tell you what you could teach in the garden. But for now, know that you will be teaching your curriculum of math, science, language, arts, social studies, etc. And of course, organizing and leading your students through the hands-on activities. And the role of parents, administrators, caretakers, custodians, building managers, and every other adult in your community is to cheer you on and support you. And it's important to define the support you want from them clearly in your proposal. You might need support with fundraising. If your garden is outside, because it doesn't have to be, you might need their approval, to use the land. You might need the caretakers of the building to help you with troubleshooting the equipment if, for example, your watering system breaks or your hose isn't working and things like that. If you are planning to grow an outdoor garden, and you don't have to, you will need the parents to, bring their kids, your students, to the garden during summer for watering. Define what support you need from them and be very clear that you don't need them for building, growing, and maintaining the garden during the school year. Tell them that your garden will only need watering during summer and no other maintenance because of your careful plan, design, plant selection and planting timing. More on this in a few minutes. So you will teach and lead your students, and your students will build, grow, and maintain the garden while they learn, and your community will cheer you on and support you. That sums up the who of your plan. Now let's talk about the what. What will you grow and what will you teach? We will cover the first one in this episode and we will continue with the second one in the next episode. It's not enough to just say that you're growing an annual vegetable garden, because people have a lot of concerns about summer maintenance and questions about, harvest times, etc. The best growing plan for a school garden is one that fits the school schedule and at the same time follows your growing season, your growing zone. Your growing plan, especially if you want to grow slow plants that take months to mature, for example, tomatoes, most probably start with growing seedlings indoors, especially if you teach in a cooler climate. If you have an outdoor garden, because you don't have to, then transplanting those seedlings into the garden is another part of your growing plan. And there are those seeds that need to be sowed directly in the garden and don't tolerate transplanting, such as radishes and carrots. No matter where you grow, indoors or outdoors, you definitely want to start with seeds, because that's an important part of the education. It is super important to avoid certain plants, certain seeds, and also include certain plants. Even though for your proposal you won't need to have the complete list of plants yet, you do want to mention the following categories and the reasons behind them. Number one, what plants will you avoid? You will avoid two types of plants. Those that are difficult and finicky and require special attention during summer, for example, cauliflowers and broccolis, you will avoid those. And you will also avoid those that will keep producing fruit during summer and will need people to clean up and harvest constantly, such as cherry tomatoes. And if you are only growing indoors, you will avoid those that need to be directly sown in the garden. And you will include two types of plants. Plants that are fast and get to harvest in 1 or 2 months, such as arugula, spinach, leaf lettuce, etc. This is to make sure that your students get to taste some of the fruit of their labor before school year ends. And you will also include plants that are easy to grow but are slower and take many months to mature and will mature in fall. If you are growing outside because you don't have to, then you can transplant these to the garden and arrange for summer watering. Then be back in fall to harvest and save some seeds off of the plant. And if you're only growing indoors, your students can put together a market and sell the seedlings and raise money for a cause. They can donate it. They can give those seedlings away before summer, and you will be all done with your gardening program. If you are growing outside because you don't have to, you can also include those easy to grow plants that need to be directly sown in the garden, such as carrots. I'm sure you have noticed a few times of me saying you don't have to have an outdoor garden. If you don't know what I mean, before you get way too annoyed with me, I want to point you to the episode number 6 of this podcast, where I talk about the unsung hero of the school gardening, the classroom garden. Those are what I am referring to when I say that you don't have to have an outdoor garden. You can grow a classroom garden and be very impressive about it too. In fact, I have a complete 11-week program called the Oasis Classroom for growing classroom gardens. Check it out from the link in the show notes. So, to summarize the what to grow part of your proposal, you need to tell people that you won't just grow any annual vegetable willy-nilly, that you will avoid those that are difficult or create a lot of summer maintenance because you want the least amount of summer maintenance, and you will include those that are easy to grow and get there fast so your students get to harvest and enjoy the fruit of labor before school ends. And you will also include those that are easy to grow but produce in fall and only need watering during summer. And if you are planning to grow a classroom garden, those will be seedlings that can be used to raise funds, to be donated, to be taken home by students, staff, etc. Of course, for the purposes of putting together your proposal, you don't need the complete list of your seeds, but when it comes down to actual detailed planning later, I have a free recommended list of seeds to grow at schools, which I will link in the show notes. And to find out the timing of these plants for starting indoors, for transplanting or sowing outdoors, and for expected harvest times to avoid harvesting during summer, I recommend growveg.com Garden Planner. At the time of recording this episode, they have a 7-day trial for their garden planner, and I will link that also in the show notes. In the next episode, I will continue with the what to teach part of your plan. See you soon. You've listened to the entire episode, and for that, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and please share this episode with other teachers who might be interested in this topic. See you next week for a new episode.